What's up guys, Sig here with another mouse review, and if you're seeing this and going, what the fuck, this isn't Albion, well, I'll be back to that shortly. I was on vacation and I've been taking advantage of the Albion fame buff that's currently active, so I really haven't been wanting to waste time recording a video, and yet here I am. Anyway, let's get to the mouse. So what we've got here is the DM1 S2. For the price, I could not pass this thing up. It was way too good to pass up, you guys. So specs, what's on the box? Let's see. Guano blue switches, which are good for 20 million clicks. Okay, fine. This uses a 3360 PixArt sensor, so it's pretty solid. I'm pretty sure it's the same one that's in this guy. This uses the 3389. I guess it's supposed to be this one's supposed to be a little bit better in the Endgame Gear XM1. I've got a review for that here, if you care about that. This thing goes up to 12,000 DPI, which is great. I use like 400 to 600 DPI, so it's, not a big deal to me. Liftoff distance of 1.8 millimeters, which is pretty low. But supposedly this mouse is a little bit heavier. I think it's around 80 grams. The liftoff distance I have set for my XM1 is 2 millimeters. So I don't know what the difference 0.8 or 0.2 is going to make. This one's pretty big to me. The pulling rate of up to 1,000 hertz. I noticed the Final Mouse Ultralight does not do that. It's stock at 5,000. At 500. I don't know if you can upgrade it or not. This guy goes to 1,000, and it's a noticeable difference between the smoothness, especially if you use a higher refresh rate monitor. But anyways, let's open this bad boy up. Wow, look at that. It's open. You get an instruction manual, which I tossed because I know how to work a mouse, and you get these extra feet pads, which the stock ones aren't the worst, but they're not the best either. As you can see, I've been using the mouse for a little while. I do like it. There's nothing really bad that I have to say about it. But first, we're going to go over some of the basic specs of the mouse, and the first thing that everybody seems to care about nowadays, especially with these ultralight mice, is what's the weight. So I thought it was 80 grams. Survey says it was 85. It's not too bad. Gotten used to a bit of a heavier mouse. This guy comes in at around 70 grams, I believe. So 15 more grams. Hasn't been super noticeable, but it does. Honestly, the weight makes it feel a little bit more durable, I guess. It makes it feel like a higher quality mouse. The clicks are solid. The only rattle that you're going to hear in this thing is the scroll wheel, like if I were to shake it up and down. So here we'll see. That's the scroll wheel popping back and forth. It's just a little bit loose, and that's the only rattle that you can hear. So it's really not too bad. So as for the build quality, I think this thing's pretty solid. Here's a quick sound test for all the buttons. Mouse 1. Mouse 2. Pretty standard. Feels good. The DPI button. Very, very quiet. Almost mushy. I haven't taken this thing apart yet, but I do want to. And the side buttons feel very similar. So yeah, middle click, I guess. And then as for the cable, it's pretty straightforward. It's a little bit stiffer than, say, the ultralight cable from the Final Mouse. And it's a lot stiffer than the Endgame Gear, just because that's one of the things that these guys marketed for, was this amazing cable. It's kind of hard to screw up a cable. I use a bungee. I use a bungee. Yeah, I use a bungee anyway, so the cables aren't really noticeable anymore after I got that guy. I only recently started caring about mouse feet. I used to run all of them stock. You can see, well, you can't see because of how blinding this light is. I'm running stock mouse feet on this. I might, if I can get secondary mouse feet for this, maybe Tiger Arcs. I'm probably not going to spend the money on the Hyperglides. The mouse feet feel fine. No real big complaint from me. As for the shape, the only difference between them really is the top of the Endgame Gear seems quite a bit flatter. I've noticed that my right finger sometimes tends to want to slip off of this guy, and it's only because, let's see if we can show it this way. You can just see how much flatter the buttons are of the Endgame Gear than of the Dream Machines. Now, does it contour to your hand a little bit better than the Endgame Gear? Of course, just because it's got that natural curvature like your hand does. The other difference is the right here at the top, the mouse is a little bit taller, and the slope is a little bit less than this guy. If you like to claw grip these mice, I usually fingertip, but if you like to claw grip, this sits in your hand pretty perfectly, and it doesn't want to move. If you would want to claw grip this mouse, it almost wants to slip out from your hand. But it's really not too bad. I tend to fingertip grip most of my mice anyway, so as you can see, it does tend to touch a little bit right in between here. When I'm sitting down and when I start to get relaxed or a little bit fatigued, you can kind of see a little bit of the wear on the coating here. And it's not actually wear, it's just, you know, oil from my hands. As for some closing thoughts, is this the best mouse out there that you could possibly get? No. You know, there's quite a few different ones out there that are pretty good choices. Is it the best mouse that you can get there for $25 plus shipping? Yeah. Yeah, it fucking is. This thing is actually really solid. I was really surprised by just how well it held up. The sensor's just as good as the final meme. You know, it's got the 1000 hertz polling rate, which is amazing as well. Some possible improvements for me. I would try to hit the 70 gram mark. This mouse seems to hit that perfectly for me, and I still love it, and it's still probably going to be my main, although this one's a little more ergonomic, so it would probably depend on the game that I'm wanting to play, and I'll most likely switch back and forth. Another thing that kind of bugged me about this mouse, or a possible improvement, I'm not sure if this is just because it's the Huano switches, or if it's because I'm used to Omron switches and Kale switches, but it does feel like there is a little bit of pre-travel. Same for the M1, honestly. Whereas if I'm going to compare, since I've been doing it the whole video, there's very little pre-travel. Like I said, it could be the switches, it could be something to do with the housing. I'm not 100% sure. Thanks for checking out the video, guys. If you liked it, don't forget to do the thing. And if you really liked it, and if you want to see more content, do the other thing. And that's about it. Thanks for hanging out, guys, and peace.